She barely graduated high school. You know, my stepmother Veronica's voice carried across her perfectly decorated living room with the casual cruelty of someone who'd never been challenged. 12 women from her upscale book club nodded sympathetically. Their attention divided between imported tea and the latest literary bestseller they were pretending to have finished. I was in the kitchen, supposedly refilling the pastry tray but actually frozen in place, listening to my stepmother explain to her friends why my father's eldest daughter was such a disappointment. Then the television in the corner tuned to the local news as background noise suddenly got louder, and the anchor's voice cut through the genteel conversation. Breaking news from the literary world: a local author has been nominated for the Pulitzer Prize in fiction. My hands started shaking as my author photo filled the screen, and I had exactly 2 seconds to decide whether to stay hidden in the kitchen or walk into that living room and watch my stepmother's carefully constructed narrative collapse on live television. My name is Alexandria Lexi Hartwell, and I am about to explain how I became a Pulitzer Prize finalist while my stepmother thought I was a high school dropout working dead-end jobs. Let me take you back to where this beautiful misunderstanding took root. I was 16 when my mother died. Cancer, aggressive, devastating. My father, a successful corporate attorney, was destroyed by grief. Within 14 months, he'd remarried. Veronica was everything my mother wasn't. Polished, social, obsessed with appearances. She was 42 to my father's 55, had never been married, and approached her new role as stepmother with the enthusiasm of someone checking items off a life goals list. She tried. Initially, Lexi, we should go shopping. Get you some nicer clothes. Maybe do something with your hair. I was 17, grieving, and had zero interest in becoming Veronica's makeover project. I'm fine with my clothes. But honey, you dress like a boy. Those oversized hoodies and jeans, you could be so pretty if you tried. I dressed like a writer. Comfortable, practical, unmemorable. I spent my time reading, writing, living in my head. But Veronica couldn't understand that. The friction grew. I was introverted. She was aggressively social. I read constantly. She thought books were decorative objects. I got decent grades but wasn't exceptional. I was too busy writing stories to obsess over AP classes. Your grades are mediocre, Veronica told me during junior year. How do you expect to get into a good college? I'm not sure I want to go to college right away, I'd said carefully. I want to write. Her laugh was sharp. Right, sweetheart, writing isn't a career. It's a hobby. My father, still navigating his grief and his new marriage, didn't defend me. He just looked tired. Senior year was a disaster. I was struggling, not academically, but emotionally. My mother's death, my father's distance, Veronica's constant criticism. I skipped classes to write in coffee shops. My GPA dropped. I stopped trying to please anyone. I graduated high school with a 2.7 GPA. Not failing, but not impressive. Veronica made sure everyone knew. She barely graduated. I heard her tell my father's colleagues at a dinner party. We're just hoping she finds something she's good at. I didn't go to college that fall. Instead, I got a job at a bookstore, Riverside Books, an independent shop downtown. I worked 40 hours a week, spent my evenings writing, and applied to community college for the spring semester. Veronica was mortified. You're working retail. What will people think? That I'm employed? I offered. She convinced my father to have a talk with me. He took me to dinner. Awkward and formal. Lexi, Veronica is concerned about your future. This bookstore job pays my rent, I interrupted. I'd moved out 2 months after graduation, unable to stand Veronica's constant commentary. You're living in some studio apartment, working minimum wage. You could be so much more if you'd just apply yourself. I am applying myself. Just not in the way Veronica wants. That was the last real conversation we had about my life. My father stopped asking questions. I think it was easier for him to accept Veronica's narrative. Lexi was a disappointment, barely educated, working dead-end jobs, going nowhere. What he didn't know, what neither of them knew, was that I was writing. Every day, for hours. I'd wake at 5 a.m., write until my bookstore shift at 10 a.m., come home and write until midnight. I took 2 classes at community college, creative writing and American literature. Both professors recognized something in my work. Professor Morrison pulled me aside after class. Lexi, this story you submitted, it's remarkable. Have you thought about submitting to literary journals? I don't know if it's good enough. It's better than good enough. It's raw and honest and necessary. You should be pursuing this seriously. I started submitting to literary journals. Small ones, obscure ones, the kind that paid in contributor copies rather than money. I got rejected. A lot. But occasionally, gloriously, I got accepted. By 19, I'd published 6 short stories in respected literary journals. My name was appearing in magazines that writers dreamed of cracking. I was building a portfolio. My father and Veronica knew none of this. When they asked about my life, rare, stiff phone calls, I'd say still at the bookstore, taking some classes. They heard, still stuck, still going nowhere. At 20, I started my novel. It was the story I'd been building toward my entire life, about grief, about losing a parent, about finding yourself when everyone expects you to be lost. I wrote it in stolen hours, in coffee shops, in my tiny studio apartment. It took me 3 years. 3 years of revisions, of professors at community college where I eventually got my associate degree giving feedback, of workshop groups tearing it apart and helping me rebuild it stronger. At 23, I had a completed manuscript. I also had something else. Enough credits from community college and online courses to have quietly earned a bachelor's degree in creative writing from an accredited online program. No ceremony, no announcement, just a diploma that arrived in the mail. I started querying agents. The rejections piled up. 73 agents passed on my book. Agent number 74 was different. She was young, hungry, believed in literary fiction when everyone said it was dead. She called me. Lexi, I stayed up all night reading your manuscript. I have notes. We'll need to revise, but I want to represent this book. I think it's special. I cried for an hour after that call. We revised for 6 months. Then we went on submission to publishers. More rejections. 15 publishing houses passed. Then, miraculously, a small independent press, Grey Wolf Press, prestigious in literary circles, made an offer. The advance was modest, $15,000. Not life-changing money, but validation beyond measure. My book, The Weight of Belonging, was published 2 months after my 25th birthday. The print run was small, 5,000 copies. No publicity budget, no book tour. Just a quiet release into the world. I didn't tell my father or Veronica. What was the point? They'd made it clear they weren't interested in my life. And honestly, I didn't expect the book to do anything. Most literary fiction disappears without notice. But something unexpected happened. Readers found it. Book clubs discovered it. Indie bookstores hand-sold it. NPR did a review. Then the New York Times. Then it started appearing on best of lists. Within 6 months, my quiet little book had sold 40,000 copies. Within a year, it had won the National Book Foundation S5 Under 35 Award and was longlisted for the National Book Award. I was shocked. My agent was ecstatic. My small publisher was stunned. My father called first time in 18 months. Lexi, someone at my firm, mentioned a book. The Weight of Belonging. They said the author has your name. Is that you? Yes. Long silence. You wrote a book? Yes. When? I've been writing for years. Dad, I told you I wanted to write. You didn't believe me. Another silence. Veronica didn't mention you were writing. Veronica doesn't know anything about my life. Neither do you. He didn't argue. We talked for 5 more awkward minutes, then hung up. He didn't call again. The book continued its unlikely success. Film rights sold. Foreign translations were contracted. I made enough money to quit the bookstore, though I missed it and write full-time. By 27, I'd published my second novel. It was even better received. By 30, I'd written 4 books, each more successful than the last. I'd also quietly completed my MFA in creative writing from a law residency program. I taught workshops. I mentored young writers. I lived comfortably in a renovated loft downtown, traveled for literary festivals, and had built a career Veronica insisted didn't exist. My father and I maintained minimal contact. Birthday cards, occasional emails. He'd remarried into Veronica's world so completely that I was an inconvenient reminder of his life before. Which brings us to yesterday afternoon. Veronica had called my father's assistant to get my number first time in 5 years. She de-initiated contact. Lexi, I'm hosting my book club tomorrow. We're discussing a novel about grief and loss. I thought, given your mother's passing, you might like to attend. As a guest, the condescension was stunning. What book are you reading? The Weight of Belonging by some local author. It's quite good actually, though the writing is a bit, unpolished. I bit my tongue so hard I tasted blood. What time? 2 o'clock. And Lexi, please dress nicely. These are important women. I showed up at 1:45 p.m., dressed in jeans and a blazer, my standard author event uniform. Veronica answered the door, her smile freezing when she saw me. Oh, I thought well, never mind. Come in, you can help me set up. For 90 minutes, I played server. I arranged pastries, poured tea, smiled politely while Veronica introduced me to her book club. This is my stepdaughter Lexi. She works at a bookstore. Or she used to. I'm not sure what she does now, honestly. I said nothing, just refilled teacups and listened. The discussion of my book was fascinating. They'd clearly all read it. Veronica ran her book club like a military operation and had strong opinions. The mother's death is so vivid, one woman said. You really feel the protagonist's grief. I found the main character too passive, another countered. She lets life happen to her instead of taking control. I bit back the urge to defend my choices. The protagonist's passivity was the point. She was paralyzed by grief, exactly as I'd been. Then Veronica weighed in. I think the author lacked proper education. There's raw emotion, yes, but the prose could be more sophisticated, more literary. The irony of Veronica, who'd read maybe 20 books in her life, criticizing my prose was almost too much. The author's biography says she has an MFA, one woman pointed out, consulting her phone. Well, anyone can get those online degrees, Veronica said dismissively. I was about to leave to walk out of this farce and never speak to Veronica or my father again when the television in the corner got suddenly louder. The afternoon news had come on. The anchor, Lisa Park, someone I'd actually met at a literary festival, was speaking urgently. We're interrupting our regular programming with breaking news from the literary world. The Pulitzer Prize committee has just announced its finalists, and we have a local connection to celebrate. The room went silent. Veronica's book club, despite their literary pretensions, knew the Pulitzer Prize mattered. Alexandria Hartwell, author of The Weight of Belonging, the book about grief and family, that's become a surprise. Bestseller has been named a finalist for the Pulitzer Prize in fiction. My author photo filled the screen. It was from last year's National Book Award ceremony, me in a simple black dress, holding my book, smiling. Hartwell, who grew up right here in our city, has been praised by critics for her devastating honesty and luminous prose. This is her debut novel, making the nomination even more remarkable. Lisa continued. We reached out to Hartwell's publisher, and they tell us she's currently working on her 5th novel. The Pulitzer Committee called her work an instant classic of contemporary American literature. The television showed B-roll footage, my book cover, reader reviews, a clip from my NPR interview. Winners will be announced next month, but regardless of the outcome, this is a tremendous achievement for a writer who, according to her biography, started publishing in literary journals at age 19. An inspiration to young writers everywhere. The segment ended. The room was silent except for the weather forecast droning on. I stepped out of the kitchen doorway where I'd been frozen. 12 sets of eyes turned to stare at me. That's you, someone finally said. Yes, Veronica's face had gone through several color changes. That can't be. You didn't write. I pulled my phone from my pocket and showed her my author website. Photos of me at literary festivals, with other authors, at readings. Reviews from the New York Times, the Washington Post, NPR, The Guardian. My books cover in dozens of languages. I'm Alexandria Hartwell, I said calmly. The book you've been discussing for the past hour. I wrote it. The unpolished prose you criticized. That's my prose. The properly educated author you wished had written it. That's me. I have a bachelor's degree and an MFA. I've published 4 novels, won multiple awards, and as of about 5 minutes ago, I'm a Pulitzer Prize finalist. The room remained silent. You said I barely graduated high school. I continued, looking directly at Veronica. That was true. I had a 2.7 GPA because I was grieving my mother and because I was spending every spare moment writing. You said I was working dead-end jobs. I worked at a bookstore while publishing short stories in literary journals and writing my first novel. I looked around at the book club members. You discussed whether the mother's death felt authentic. It felt authentic because it was based on my mother's death, the protagonist's isolation from her remaining family. That's my life. The stepmother character who dismisses the protagonist's dreams. That's inspired by someone in this room. Veronica had tears in her eyes, but I wasn't sure if they were shame or just shock. I need to go, I said. My agent is probably calling. We have to prepare a statement for the media. Actually, my phone was already buzzing with notifications. One of the book club members, an older woman with kind eyes, stood up. "Ms. Hartwell, I'm so sorry. We discussed your beautiful book without knowing you were here. Without treating you with the respect you deserve. Thank you. I loved your book," she continued. "It changed how I thought about grief, about loss. It's an honor to meet you. I appreciate that." I walked toward the door. My father's car was pulling into the driveway. Veronica must have called him in a panic. He got out, looking confused. "Lexi, Veronica said something about the Pulitzer Prize." "I don't understand." I stopped on the porch. "Dad, I'm a published author. I have been for years. I have 4 books in print, a 5th on the way. I make 6 figures from my writing. I travel internationally for literary festivals. I've won multiple awards. And as of today, I'm a Pulitzer Finalist." He stared at me like I was speaking a foreign language. "You didn't know any of this because you never asked, because Veronica convinced you I was a failure, and it was easier for you to believe her than to actually know your own daughter." I didn't know. "You never told me. I told you I wanted to write. I told you I was writing. You didn't believe in me. So I stopped sharing my life with you." I pulled up the Times review of my book on my phone and handed it to him. The Weight of Belonging is a masterwork of contemporary American fiction, establishing Alexandria Hartwell as one of the most important voices of her generation. He read it, his face pale. "I have to go," I said. "My life is about to get very chaotic. Press requests, interviews, all the things that come with a Pulitzer nomination." "Can we talk?" my father asked. "Later. I want to understand. I want to know about your work." "Maybe," I said. "But Dad, if we do this, you need to actually see me. Not who Veronica says I am. Not who you wish I was. Me." I left them standing there, Veronica crying on the porch. My father reading a glowing review of a book his daughter wrote that he'd never even known existed. The next week was chaos. Interview requests from NPR, The New York Times, Publishers Weekly. My publisher rushed out a new printing of The Weight of Belonging. Sales spiked. My book hit the Times bestseller list for the first time. My father called every day. I didn't answer most of the calls. Finally, on day 4, I picked up. "Lexi, I bought all your books. I've been reading nonstop. There. You're incredibly talented." "I had no idea, thank you. Why didn't you tell me? Why let me think you were, struggling?" "Because you never asked. Dad, you remarried, you moved on. And it was easier to let Veronica's version of me exist than to fight for your attention." "I'm sorry," he said, and his voice broke. "I'm so sorry I didn't see you. Didn't support you. Your mother would have been so proud. She would have read everything you wrote." That made me cry. "Yeah, she would have. Can I come to your next reading? Your book launch for the 5th novel. I want to be there. To support you, please." "Okay," I said finally. "Okay." 2 months later, the Pulitzer winners were announced. I didn't win. The prize went to another incredible novel, but being a finalist changed everything. More speaking invitations, a university teaching position offer, foreign rights sales for books that hadn't even sold abroad before. My father attended my book launch for novel number 5. He sat in the front row, bought 10 copies, got them all signed. Veronica wasn't with him. "We're separated," he told me after the reading. The book club incident made me realize a lot of things. About my choices. About who I'd let influence how I saw you. "I'm sorry," I said, and meant it. I'm not. I should have seen it years ago. My name is Alexandria Hartwell. I'm 32 years old. I'm a Pulitzer Prize finalist, a published author of 5 novels, and an MFA graduate who teaches creative writing workshops. I barely graduated high school. That part was true, but Veronica measured my worth by my GPA, instead of my words, by my resume instead of my stories. She couldn't see that the girl she dismissed was building something extraordinary, 1 page at a time. My 5th novel comes out next month. It's dedicated to my mother, who believed in my stories before anyone else did, and to every kid who doesn't fit the traditional definition of success but is creating something remarkable anyway. Sometimes barely graduating is just the beginning.